my parents said. You're only 32, you'll make it back. After stealing my life savings from my sister. Hi, I'm Jake, 32, and last Sunday my parents told me over roast beef and lies that they spent 95% of my life savings to buy my sister a house. I laughed. Right in their faces. Because they didn't know what those savings were. It was a regular family dinner, which is to say tense with a hint of emotional landmines. Mom had insisted. Dad carved meat like he was mad at it. Kristen, older by 3 years, self-declared golden child, barely looked up from her phone, only pausing to giggle at some inside joke with her husband Brandon, the human equivalent of a beige wall. Then came the announcement. So, sweetheart, Mom said, setting down her wine like she was about to deliver a toast. We have wonderful news. Dad cleared his throat like a man rehearsing a eulogy. Kristen and Brandon found their dream home. It's in Willow Creek. Mom continued. 5 bedrooms, walking distance from the country club, perfect for the kids they're planning. I smiled. Genuinely. I may not love Kristen, but I don't wish her ill. That's great. Congratulations. Kristen smirked at me across the table like a cat sizing up a mouse. Thanks, little bro. It's been such a stressful process. Luckily, Mom and Dad helped make it happen. That's when Mom's voice changed. Soft. Dangerous. The down payment was substantial. More than they had saved. So we, access your savings account. I blinked. You what? You know, the one we set up for you when you were 16, Dad said, finally meeting my eyes. We're still custodians. It's technically under our names. I dropped my fork. 95% of it. Mom added quickly. But sweetheart, you're only 32. You have time to build it back. Kristen laughed, this light tinkly sound that made me want to flip the table. You don't have a single penny to your name now. But hey, you always were good at budgeting. And then she dropped the real insult. It's not like you have a girlfriend or wedding plans. What were you saving for anyway? Brandon chuckled like someone who married a bully for tax purposes. I looked around that table, the roast, the smug faces, the betrayal, and something in me snapped. I laughed. Not a chuckle. Not sarcasm. Full-on, chest-shaking laughter. They stared. Angela, Mom said nervously. Are you okay? I'm perfect, I gasped. Just amazed. Absolutely amazed. Why are you laughing like that? Kristen snapped. Because, I said, wiping tears from my eyes. That account you drained? That was just the decoy. Their smiles froze. I leaned back and let it sink in. I've been hiding my real savings for years. I moved everything above $15,000 into separate accounts you'll never find. High-yield savings. Investments. Roth IRA. All paperless. All private. You didn't rob me. You just confirmed I was right not to trust you. The silence at that table? Exquisite. Dad went pale like he'd seen a ghost he'd once shortchanged. What do you mean other accounts? He asked, but the words came out like he already knew he'd lost the plot. I folded my napkin calmly. I mean, I've been working full-time since college, and I learned pretty early that this family has a redistribution of wealth problem. So I kept just enough in that old account to keep the illusion alive. You're lying, Kristen said, her voice sharp with panic now. You're making this up because you're embarrassed. Check my room, I said. You won't find a single bank statement. Everything's digital. Tucked behind encrypted logins and two-factor authentication. Mom reached for her wine like it was a lifeline. That's not fair. We've always supported you. Always. I snapped. Kristen got a new Honda when she started college. I had to take the bus until I saved enough for a used Civic. She got study abroad in Italy. I got a guilt trip for asking to attend a conference in Chicago. Mom flinched. Dad stared at his plate. Kristen made a noise halfway between a scoff and a growl. I started saving when I was 16, I said. Every paycheck, every bonus, every side gig. While you were bankrolling Kristen's latest lifestyle crisis, I was skipping vacations and cooking rice and beans. Brandon finally opened his mouth. How much are we talking about here? I gave him a smile so sweet it bordered on sadistic. Enough to buy 2 of those Willow Creek houses. And still have cash left for a wedding, a honeymoon, and a college fund for kids I haven't even met yet. You could feel the gravity shift in the room. Kristen's smirk cracked. Dad's mouth opened and closed like he was testing every excuse and finding them all broken. Mom looked like she wanted to melt into her chair. But we're your family, she whispered. No, I said. You're Kristen's family. I was just a side quest. Then I stood up, calm as a surgeon. Thank you for dinner. And congratulations, Kristen. Hope the house is everything you dreamed. You'll need it when Brandon's tech startup collapses again. Brandon bristled. You don't know anything about our finances. I know you needed my money to make them work. That's all I need to know. Kristen stood abruptly, eyes wild. You selfish. I cut her off with a raised hand. You mocked me for being broke. And now you're panicking because I'm not. Think about that. And then I walked out. Cool, quiet, steady. The last thing I heard was Mom calling after me. Jake, wait. We can fix this. But the door had already closed behind me. By the time I got home, I had 17 missed calls. 8 from Mom. 4 from Kristen. 1 from Brandon, which was hilarious. And 4 from a number I didn't recognize. Probably Dad using his office line like he was launching a PR cleanup. I poured myself a drink, opened my laptop, and smiled at the rows of green in my accounts. $92,400 in high-yield savings. $56,000 in index funds. Roth IRA still growing. I'd been living modestly for years while they assumed I was barely scraping by. They thought they were rescuing me from failure. They were stealing from someone who had already saved himself. The next morning, I forwarded everything to Kenneth Morrison, my attorney. Remember that custodial account I told you might become a problem? I asked. Kenneth didn't even blink. Already ahead of you. They had legal access, but not ethical. And now they've used that access for personal gain. I'll have cease and desist letters sent today, and we'll file for full ownership transfer of the account. We'll also lock your credit and financial records down tighter than a bank vault. Good, I said. And if they push? We let the IRS and the HOA handle it. Parents who borrow from adult children for someone else's mortgage are not a great look. By noon, my parents had official legal notice. That night, Dad called from a new number. I answered, just to see which script he'd use. A lawyer, Jake? He snapped before I could speak. You're threatening your parents with legal action? You stole from me, I said evenly. If a stranger did what you did, it would be called theft. You think being my father makes it less serious? We were helping your sister. She needed that house. No, I corrected. You chose to help Kristen. You didn't ask me. You didn't warn me. You treated me like an ATM that wouldn't fight back. Dad went quiet. Then he said something that made me flinch. When did you become so cold? And for a second, that almost landed. Almost. Until I remembered being 15 and overhearing them say, Jake'll be fine. He always figures it out. And every year since, figuring it out alone. I became this way, I said slowly. The day I realized no one in my own family saw me as someone worth protecting. He hung up. I stared at the phone, chest tight, but not from grief. From clarity. They didn't regret what they did. Only that I didn't take it quietly. 3 weeks later, Kristen showed up at my office. Security called. There's a woman here claiming to be your sister. Do you want us to send her away? God, yes, I wanted to say. But curiosity's a hell of a drug. Give her 5 minutes, I said. Nothing more. She walked in like she was still the main character in a story I'd walked out of. Designer coat. Hair curled like she was ready for a Vogue shoot, not an apology. But her eyes looked tired. The kind of tired you can't cover with concealer or pride. I came to apologize, she said, sitting stiffly across from my desk. I was awful at dinner. The things I said about you not having anyone, not having money, that was cruel. It was honest, I said. You just thought I was too broke to clap back. Kristen's smile vanished. That's not fair. Neither is stealing someone's future and laughing while you do it. She winced, finally showing something resembling shame. Brandon's father found out how we got the down payment. He flipped out. Said it was entitled disgusting. He's barely speaking to us. So you're here because daddy-in-law thinks you're spoiled? No, I'm here because I feel awful. No. You feel embarrassed. I corrected. There's a difference. She stared at the floor like it might open up and swallow her. I was raised to believe you'd always be the backup plan, she said quietly. The one who handled things. Who didn't need help. They set it up that way. No, I said. You benefited from that setup. Don't confuse the system with your choices. Kristen looked up, and for once, her voice cracked. I'm sorry, Jake. I really am. I studied her. Did I believe her? Maybe. But belief wasn't trust. I'm not ready for anything more than this conversation, I said. She nodded. That's fair. As she stood to leave, she looked back. You know what's weird? For the first time, I don't envy you. I blinked. You used to envy me? Of course, she said with a bitter laugh. You were the one they didn't coddle. You became someone. I became a dependent with a mortgage I can't afford. I didn't respond. She left before I could decide whether that felt like victory or just a new chapter in a long, broken book. That night, Aunt Lorraine called. Aunt Lorraine, my mom's older sister, is the kind of woman who speaks like a courtroom transcript and takes zero crap from anyone, including my mother. I just got off the phone with your mom, she said. She told me everything. Then she cried. Then she said she doesn't understand why you're being so cruel. I sighed. Let me guess, she wants me to apologize for overreacting to being robbed. No, Lorraine said bluntly. She wants you to come to family therapy. As if group shrinkage is going to unraid your savings. I laughed. Hard pass. Well, I told her she's a damn fool, Lorraine said. And then I've been watching her baby Kristen for 30 years while expecting you to raise yourself. My chest tightened. I didn't know how much I needed someone else to see it, say it. Thanks, Lorraine. Don't thank me. I'm furious. At them. At this whole he'll figure it out crap they fed you since middle school. You've been holding this family together with duct tape and spite. That almost made me cry. It's just exhausting, I admitted. Always being the one who's okay. I know, she said. And you're not selfish for finally stopping. You're smart. You protected yourself because no one else did. That doesn't make you cruel. That makes you awake. I sank into my couch, feeling more seen in that 5-minute call than I had in a lifetime of holiday dinners. Later that week, Mom left another voicemail. Her sixth since the letter from my attorney. Jake, sweetheart, we're all hurting. This family is falling apart. Can't we come together and fix this? We'll even go to therapy. We just want our son back. I didn't return the call. But I wrote down what she said. Not because I believed her. Because I needed a reminder of how easy it is for people to cry over broken bonds they spent years snapping in half. Work became my oxygen. I dove into a new analytics project like it was a lifeboat. Data made sense. Spreadsheets didn't guilt-trip you. Algorithms didn't ask for forgiveness after betraying you. One late night, around 8 p.m., my coworker Tasha leaned against the doorway to my office with a Thai takeout container in hand. Okay, be honest, are you secretly living here now? I smirked. Only on days that end in Y. She stepped inside, setting a container of noodles next to my keyboard. Family stuff? Yeah, I said. The kind that makes you grateful for buzzwords and pivot tables. She nodded slowly. My brother stole my identity when I was 27. Racked up debt in my name, tanked my credit. Haven't spoken to him in 9 years. I looked at her. Did you ever reconcile? Kind of. He did therapy. Got sober. Took 5 years before I believed it was real. But I still don't give him a spare key. Her words stayed with me long after she left. Not every apology earns reentry. Not every sibling gets a second lease on trust. 2 months later, my manager, Olivia, called me into her office. You've been crushing this quarter, she said, sliding a folder toward me. And your work on the Vega campaign was the best data modeling I've seen all year. Thanks, I said cautiously. I'm recommending you for senior analyst. It comes with a raise, your own team, and more control over your projects. I blinked. You're serious? As a heart attack, she said. You've earned it. That night, I walked out of work with a promotion letter in my bag, a soft smile on my face, and no one to call. No champagne at home. No family dinner in celebration. But there was a fridge full of groceries I bought, rent paid by my money, and the quiet piece of a life I'd built from scratch. I poured a glass of wine, toasted my own damn name, and whispered, "You did good, kid." Then I transferred 20% of my new salary raise straight into my investment account. Because trust me, I knew exactly who I could count on. In July, nearly a year since the dinner, I got a text from Kristen. No emojis. No passive-aggressive punctuation. Jake, I saved up $15,000. I'm sending it to you. It's the money Mom and Dad took. I know it won't fix everything, but it's something. Please don't block me. Just know that I'm trying. The next day, a check arrived in a plain envelope. No note. No glitter bomb of guilt. Just the money. My money. Returned. I deposited it. Then I sat with it for an hour, debating what to say, if anything. Finally, I wrote, Kristen, thank you. I appreciate the effort. But we're not good just because the debt is paid. Trust isn't like a balance sheet. It takes time, and it needs proof. Still, this was a start. Her reply came the next morning. Understood. I won't push. I'm in therapy now, for what it's worth. And I've started doing part-time work while Brandon looks for something stable. We're in a small 2-bedroom now. I'm learning. That was the first time in 3 decades Kristen used the word learning instead of deserving. She didn't ask me for help. She didn't hint at another crisis. She just admitted the truth. I didn't forgive her, not yet. But something inside me loosened. In August, I got promoted again. Lead analyst. 6-figure salary. Bonus options. I celebrated with sushi, a new pair of running shoes, and an extra lump sum payment into my Roth IRA. No fanfare. No cake. Just quiet pride. Lucas, the guy I'd been dating for a few months, smiled across the table that night. You know you're allowed to be happy, right? Like, not guilty, not cautious. Just happy. I looked at him. I'm working on it. Later that night, Kristen mailed a simple thank you card. Handwritten. Just 2 lines. I'm proud of the man you've become. I'm sorry I wasn't a better sister when it mattered. No guilt. No begging. Maybe people do change. Or maybe they just finally run out of other people's money and have to. Either way, the check had cleared, and so had the fog I didn't realize I'd been living in. In October, I bought my first condo. A quiet 2-bedroom with exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows, and the kind of kitchen that made me want to cook even though I still mostly burned toast. I signed the papers alone, met the realtor's handshake with a steady grip, and thought, not for the first time, that everything I had now was built brick by brick from the rubble they left me in. Aunt Lorraine was the first person I told. Finally, she said. A place that's yours, not rented, not borrowed, not inherited with emotional strings. She came to visit the next weekend, brought me a houseplant and a bottle of wine. I didn't raise you, Jake, she said as she stood on my tiny balcony. But I'm proud of you like I did. I hugged her. The kind that felt real in my chest. The next week, I got a card in the mail from my dad. Not a text. Not an email. A real card. Blue ink. His slanted handwriting. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know, you were right. About everything. About how we favored Kristen, about how we mistook your silence for strength, and about how we treated your self-sufficiency like permission to ignore you. I thought I was being fair. I wasn't. I was being convenient. And I'm sorry. No mention of Kristen. No plea to come home for the holidays. Just honesty. It didn't erase the past, but it marked something, accountability. Lucas read the letter and nodded. That's big. I shrugged. It's words. Yeah, he said. But maybe someday they turn into actions. And if they don't, you've still got this. He gestured around my condo. Your life. Your peace. Thanksgiving came. I hosted. Just a few close friends, Tasha from work, Lucas, and Lorraine. We cooked too much, laughed too loud, and played board games like we were all 12 again. It was the best holiday I'd ever had. Midway through dessert, I got a text from my father. Happy Thanksgiving, son. I miss you. I stared at it a long time. Lucas saw my face. You okay? Yeah, I said. It's just weird. Do you want to respond? I thought about it. About the years of being invisible, the way they weaponized guilt, the check Kristen returned, the condo I now owned, the laugh Aunt Lorraine made when she tried to open my fancy wine with a butter knife. Then I typed. Happy Thanksgiving, Dad. I hope you're well. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a door swinging wide open. But it was something. A small olive branch. Offered carefully. Planted on my terms. December brought snow, real snow, the kind that blanketed everything in white and made the city feel quieter than it had any right to be. Kristen sent a holiday card. Not a flashy one with embossed gold lettering or pictures of her kids in coordinated outfits, thank God. Just a modest card with a handwritten note inside. Merry Christmas, Jake. No expectations, no guilt. Just wanted to wish you peace. I'm still working weekends. Brandon's finally pulling his weight. And I'm still going to therapy. I don't know if we'll ever be close again. But I hope you know I mean it when I say I'm sorry. For all of it. I stared at it for a long time. Then I pinned it on my fridge, not because I wanted to display it, but because it didn't feel like manipulation. It felt like growth. Or at least like a blueprint for it. Lucas and I spent Christmas together in our new condo. He brought over cinnamon rolls. I made terrible coffee. We wore ugly sweaters and watched cheesy movies on streaming. No tense family dinners. No financial ambushes. No knives hidden in polite smiles. Just warmth. In January, my mother emailed me. The subject line read, "No pressure. Hi, sweetheart. I ran into Aunt Lorraine at the market. She said you're doing well? I'm glad. I won't pretend everything's fine. I know I hurt you. We hurt you. I've been in therapy with your father. It's hard. Looking at the patterns. Facing the ways we made you feel invisible. I know it's not your job to help us heal. But if one day you want to talk, I'll listen. And if not, I understand." I didn't reply. Not out of spite. Not out of pettiness. I just needed more time. I showed the email to Lucas that night. He nodded slowly. "You'll know when you're ready." By February, Kristen emailed me again. Not to ask for anything. Just a quiet update. Still working both jobs. We're managing. Brandon's different now, too. Losing the house cracked something open in both of us. We're rebuilding from scratch. He cooks now. I'm learning to live without backup plans made of other people's money. There was something honest about it. No pity party. No sob story. Just accountability. For her birthday in March, I didn't attend her gathering, but I mailed a gift card to a local bookstore and a short note. "Keep going. And happy birthday." A week later, I got a reply. "Thank you." I used it on 3 books, none of which were about pretending everything's fine. Progress, right? It was. I didn't want to go back. Not to the way things were. But maybe I could be someone who wished her well from a safe distance. In April, Lucas and I went hiking upstate. At the summit, he turned to me and said, "I think I'm in love with you." I stared at him, breath caught somewhere between fear and wonder. Then I said it back. Not because I felt obligated. Not because I was desperate to belong. But because it was true. And safe. And mine. For the first time in my life, love didn't come with a receipt or a ledger. It just was. That night, back at the condo, I looked around the space we'd built. No fancy chandelier, no massive dining table, no fake smiles, and whispered. In May, I ran into Brandon at the grocery store. He looked human. Which was new. No smug grin, no overpriced sunglasses on his head, no. I married the favorite sibling. Swagger. Just a man in line at the self-checkout with store-brand cereal and a coupon in hand. "Jake," he said, startled, like I'd caught him stealing. "Brandon," I replied, reaching for a basket. We stood in awkward silence while the machine yelled at someone for not placing their item in the bagging area. Then he said, "Thanks for not ruining our lives." I blinked. "What? You could have gone nuclear. Sued. Blown us up on social media. Whatever. You didn't." "That's because I'm not interested in revenge," I said. "I just wanted my life back." He nodded slowly. "We lost a lot." I tilted my head. "Did you?" He exhaled. "Okay. We lost what we never really earned." There it was. The truth, bald and awkward. He scratched the back of his neck. "Kristen's different now. Not perfect, but real. It's weird. I think this is the first time she's ever had to work for anything." "That makes 2 of you," I said. He didn't argue. We parted ways at the parking lot. No handshake. No fake smiles. Just 2 men who finally understood each other from opposite sides of a burned bridge. Later that week, I got a call from my mother's therapist. She left a voicemail. Kind, professional, neutral. "Jake, your mother asked me to reach out. She understands you may not be ready for direct contact, but she wanted me to let you know she's making progress. She's examining her patterns. She speaks of you often. With regret and with hope." I didn't call back. But I didn't block the number either. Some wounds need air. Others need time. And a few need silence to finish healing. Lucas and I started talking seriously about buying a place together. Not just a condo, but something with a backyard. A porch. Maybe even a little garden. I want a lemon tree, he said one night as we scrolled listings on the couch. I laughed. You kill cacti. Exactly. Redemption arc. We put in an offer on a place in June. Cozy, quiet, absurdly overpriced like everything else, but it felt right. A week later, it was accepted. I texted Aunt Lorraine first. She sent back, "You finally have a place with good light. I hope you sit in it often." I did. And I plan to. In the corner of our new living room, I pinned something to the corkboard. A photo of me and Lucas from the first weekend we'd met, a printout of my promotion email, and in the middle, the statement from the stolen savings account. Empty now. But under it, in sharp, I'd written, "They tried to take everything. And accidentally showed me I already had what mattered." Summer melted into fall. The air shifted, less sticky, more honest. Like even the weather had gotten tired of pretending. Lucas and I moved into the new house in late August. The lemon tree? Dying already. But the sunroom? Perfect. And I couldn't stop walking into rooms just to marvel that they were ours. One Sunday morning, as I was making coffee and socks in silence, a knock came at the door. I opened it to find my mother. No warning. No entourage. Just her, in a cardigan too light for the breeze and a paper bag in her hands. "Hi," she said, eyes wide, unsure. "I brought muffins." I didn't say anything. "They're from that bakery you used to like," she added, almost nervously. "The one you'd walk to in college." I stepped aside. She looked surprised. "You're letting me in?" "Just for coffee," I said. "Not for a rewrite of history." She nodded and followed me into the kitchen. Lucas glanced up from the couch, then down at his book, letting me steer this moment on my own terms. She set the bag on the counter and folded her hands. "This is a beautiful house." "Thanks. I bought it. With money no one else touched." She winced, then nodded. "I deserve that." She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, just less towering. The way parents stop feeling like deities when you realize their choices were just as flawed and human as yours. "I'm not here to ask for anything," she said. "I just wanted to see you. And to tell you that we're still in therapy. Your father and I both. Every Tuesday night. I yell more than I thought I would." I poured her coffee, silent. She held the mug like it was breakable. "The therapist says I confuse guilt with love. That I parented Kristen out of fear and you out of fatigue." Sounds accurate. I'm trying to do better. Not for a reunion. Just for myself. I nodded. "That's good." We sat. She didn't cry. I didn't yell. We just existed in the same space without screaming or pretending. She finished her coffee, stood slowly, and said, "You don't owe us anything. But I hope someday, if you ever want to. I don't know, talk, you'll know it's safe to." Then she left the muffins, walked to the door, and didn't ask for a hug. Progress. That night, I stood in the yard, under a too-pale moon, staring at the half-dead lemon tree. "You're not doing great," I whispered. "But you're still here." Lucas came outside and wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. "Tree therapy?" he asked. "Maybe," I said. "I think I'm rooting for it. Then it's got a shot." I looked at our house, warm windows, no secrets, no traps. And for the first time in years I felt still. October brought a letter. Not from Kristen. Not from my parents. From my niece. A plain envelope with handwriting so careful it looked like she'd drafted it 5 times before putting pen to paper. "Hi, Uncle Jake. Mom told me I wasn't supposed to write you. She said it would stir things up. But I wanted to anyway. I just wanted to say, I miss you. You were always the only adult who talked to me like I was smart. I remember when you helped me build that dumb science fair volcano even though it leaked on your shoes. You didn't even yell. You just said, well, that's data too. I don't know all the stuff that happened. Just that it's been really quiet without you. I hope you're okay. And I hope you come around again someday. But if you don't, I get it. Love. Mia." I read it twice. Then I folded it and slipped it into the drawer labeled Stuff That Matters, between my promotion letter and my tax documents. That night, I messaged Kristen. I got Mia's letter. I'm not mad. I'm glad she remembers the volcano. She responded almost immediately. I didn't tell her to write it. She asked me if she could, and I told her I couldn't stop her if she felt it was important. I'm trying not to edit her anymore. Or protect her from uncomfortable things. Including the truth. Also, she's still into science. She wants to be an engineer. I tell her to follow it. Every day. Even when she says she's afraid she's not smart enough. I tell her she sounds like you. Something cracked in me then. Not painfully. More like a window opening after years sealed shut. I wrote back. If she ever wants help with a project, she can email me. I'm not ready for family barbecues, but I can be her weird science uncle again. One small step at a time. Kristen didn't respond with emojis or paragraphs. Just, thank you? That's more than I hoped for. Lucas found me staring at the screen, still holding my phone like it might vanish. She okay? He asked. No, I said. But she's working on it. And she's not dragging Mia down with her. He nodded. That counts. Fall deepened. We carved pumpkins with friends. I watched Mia's school science project updates from a safe digital distance. A volcano again. This time, no leaks. One night I got an email from my dad. Subject line, I understand if you don't answer. Jake. Just wanted to say that I hope you're warm, well-fed, and sleeping better these days. I still remember how you used to sleep with one eye open in high school like the world was going to demand something from you at any second. It wasn't right. I'm sorry I didn't protect you better. I'm learning how to be your father now, late, and from far away. But still. Love. Dad. I didn't write back. But I didn't delete it either. Some messages don't require replies. They just need to land. The first snow hit in mid-November. Lucas and I were making chili, dancing terribly in the kitchen to some 90s playlist when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. Then the voicemail came through. It was my mother. Jake. I'm calling because Kristen's in the hospital. She collapsed at work. They think it's exhaustion, maybe stress-related. She's okay, but shaken. She asked for you? I told her I didn't know if you'd come. And I don't. But I thought you should know. Lucas saw my face change and turned down the music. What happened? I told him. He didn't say you have to go. He just waited. And after a moment I said, I think I want to. It wasn't obligation. It wasn't guilt. It was something quieter. At the hospital, Kristen looked different. Not in the dramatic way. No tubes, no machines. Just pale, tired, hollow-eyed. She saw me and teared up. You came. I'm not here to fix anything. I said gently. Just here. She nodded. That's more than I deserve. We talked, awkwardly at first, like two people trying to remember a language they used to share. She told me about working weekends, juggling freelance work, stress headaches, Brandon's unreliable hours, the rent creeping up again. I used to think money solved everything, she said. Turns out, it just postpones the crash. I smiled sadly. That's a hell of a line. You should write it on a check next time someone asks to borrow your future. Kristen laughed, then winced. Ow. Don't make me laugh. Apparently, I'm dehydrated and dramatic. A nurse came in, cheerful and efficient. As she adjusted Kristen's fore, she turned to me and said, Your sister's lucky to have you here. Most people don't show up. I didn't correct her. Not because she was wrong, but because it didn't matter right then. Before I left, Kristen touched my wrist. Thank you. For coming. For not writing me off. I didn't forgive you. I said. I know, she whispered. But maybe someday? I shrugged. That's not a door I keep open. But it's not locked either. As I walked to the parking lot, I felt something I couldn't quite name. Not peace. But something adjacent. Back home, Lucas handed me tea before I even asked. You okay? Not sure, I said. But I think I just started writing the last chapter. December arrived like a soft closing door, quiet, heavy, final. I didn't decorate. No tree, no garlands, no carols. Just soft lights and slow mornings. Lucas and I exchanged one gift each. A pair of gloves for him. A new French press for me. Neither of us wrapped anything. Neither of us needed to. On Christmas Eve, I received a package. From Kristen. Inside, A wrapped box, a card, and a photograph. The box contained a worn copy of A Brief History of Time, one I'd lent her in high school and never gotten back. Inside was a sticky note. It's yours. It always was. I finally know what that means now. The card was simple. Merry Christmas, Jake. No agenda. No guilt. Just love. Kristen. But the photo stopped me. It was us, me and Kristen, ages maybe 6 and 9, sitting on the floor of Grandma's house, covered in glitter and Elmer's glue. I was holding up a badly cut paper snowflake. She was laughing, real and full. A note on the back. You were always the smart one. I was just louder. Sorry it took me 30 years to admit it. I sat with that photo for a long time. The truth of it. The rawness. The absurd tragedy of how long it takes some people to become human. Later that night, my father called. No voicemail this time. Just a short call. Jake, he said. Your mother and I lit a candle for you at church today. Not sure that's gonna fix much. I replied. I know, he said quietly. But we're trying. Not for redemption. Just to be less of the people we were. That was new. They weren't begging me to come home. They weren't bargaining. They were just changing. And the weirdest part? I believed it. Not fully. Not all at once. But enough to consider taking another step forward. That night, Lucas found me in the sunroom holding the photo. Is that glitter? It's history, I said. He raised an eyebrow. The messy kind, I added. I tucked it into the drawer labeled Stuff That Matters, right beside the letter from Dad and the volcano photo from Mia. Sometimes you don't burn the past. You archive it. Then you live better than it ever asked you to. New Year's Eve came without fanfare. No parties. No champagne countdowns. Just me, Lucas, and a fire pit in the backyard that wouldn't stay lit. I joked about our relationship being built on burnt toast and broken lighters. He said, At least we're warm. At midnight I kissed him. Not like it was the start of something wild, but like it was the continuation of something quietly solid. The kind of love you don't post about because it doesn't need applause. A few days into January, I got an invitation. Not a text. Not a passive-aggressive family chain. An actual paper invitation, addressed in Kristen's handwriting. You're invited to a quiet gathering for my 33rd birthday. No party. No speeches. Just food, Mia's bad playlist, and an open chair if you want it. If you don't come, I'll understand. If you do, I'll be grateful. Either way, happy birthday to the person who taught me how to grow up. I stared at it for a long time. Then I called Mia. Hey, I said when she answered. Oh my God, she breathed. You called. You still into science? Obviously, she said like it was the dumbest question imaginable. Then I'll bring the Mentos and Diet Coke. She squealed so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Lucas raised an eyebrow when I hung up. So you're going? Not for Kristen, I said. For Mia. For me. For closure, maybe. Closure with cake, he said. My favorite kind. That Saturday, I pulled up to their small rental home. Nothing fancy. Plastic flamingo in the yard. Faded welcome mat. Kristen opened the door in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, no audience. Hey, she said. You came. Don't make a scene, I said dry. She laughed. I literally baked. Like, with flour and effort. Inside, it was just Mia, Brandon, and 2 of Kristen's coworkers who looked equally stunned to see me. No big production. No guilt trip slideshow. Just music and mismatched paper plates. Brandon nodded at me. Respectful. Quiet. Different. Kristen didn't hover. She didn't try to force a tearful reunion. She just let me be. And that, more than any apology, told me she finally got it. We ate. We laughed. Mia exploded a volcano made of cake frosting and dry ice. And when I left, Kristen didn't try to hug me. She just said, Thank you for giving me a chance to show you I'm not who I was. I paused in the doorway. Keep showing me. That's the only way this works. I will, she said. That night, Lucas and I sat on the couch. I showed him the invitation, the frosting-stained photos Mia sent me after. You proud of yourself? He asked. I thought about it. Then I said, Yeah, I am. Because I hadn't just survived what my family did. I'd build something better from the pieces. February blurred in like a soft gray sky, quiet, still, heavy with everything unsaid. One morning, while reorganizing the stuff that matters drawer, I found the original bank statement. The one that showed my balance before the theft. $15,472. 18. I ran my finger over the number. Not because I missed it, but because I no longer needed it. That theft used to define everything, the betrayal, the family split, the cold clarity that followed. But now, holding it felt different. Like revisiting the basement of a house I didn't live in anymore. I didn't cry. I smiled. Then I folded the paper and filed it one tier deeper, beneath the promotion letter, beneath the volcano photo, beneath the apology cards. Not gone. But no longer on top. A week later, I ran into my father at a bookstore downtown. We both reached for the same copy of a nonfiction memoir, some self-improvement thing with a title like Unlearning Damage. He froze. I didn't. I grabbed the book, held it out to him. You saw it first. He blinked, startled. Are you sure? Positive, I said. I already lived it. He laughed, short and nervous. You look good, Jake. I feel good, I said. You. He looked older. Softer. Like someone who stopped trying to win arguments and started trying to understand them. I'm learning how to stay quiet and listen, he said. Turns out it's a skill I skipped. I nodded. That's a hard one. We talked. Briefly. About nothing heavy. Books. Work. Weather. He didn't ask for a lunch. I didn't offer one. But as I turned to leave, he said, Your mother's finally started painting again. I paused. Really? He smiled, and for the first time in a long time, it didn't look like a strategy. She says it helps with the guilt? She's got a lot of canvas then. He chuckled. She knows. I left with a book I hadn't meant to buy, and a strange lightness in my chest I couldn't name. That night, Lucas asked how it felt. Like I visited a ghost, I said. And found out it doesn't haunt me anymore. I wasn't done grieving. But I wasn't living inside the grief, either. I was finally moving through it, with purpose, with peace, and with someone beside me who never asked me to dim the truth just to keep the lights on. Spring arrived like forgiveness, not loud, not dramatic. Just green returning to branches that had once looked dead. Mia visited one Saturday, with a backpack full of duct tape and questions. I want to build a DIY wind tunnel, she declared. Also, do you have snacks? We built it. Failed 3 times. Got glitter in the carpet. She called it Project Chaos. I called it therapy. At one point, she looked up from her notebook and said, You know, Mom's different. She's smaller, but better. Less princess, more person. You scared her straight. I laughed. I wasn't trying to scare anyone. You didn't try, she said. You just stopped lying about how it felt. That hit harder than I expected. That evening, Kristen texted me a photo, Mia holding her wind tunnel, grinning. Thank you again. You didn't have to. But you did. You're welcome, I replied. She's the only project I never mind investing in. In March, Lucas and I hosted a quiet dinner. Just friends. No drama. I caught myself looking around the table and realizing, this is family too. Not inherited. Chosen. A few days later, I got one last envelope from my mother. Inside, a painting. 2 chairs on a porch facing the sea. No note. Just brush strokes. I framed it and hung it in the hallway. A reminder. Not of what they took, but of what I saved. Because in the end, I didn't just reclaim my money. I reclaimed my voice. My worth. My peace. My life. And no one can take that from me again. Not for a house. Not for a sister. Not for anything. Because now, the porch is mine. And the locks work. And if anyone wants in, they'd better come empty-handed. And honest. I still check the mail sometimes, even when I'm not expecting anything. Just in case. Maybe it's hope, maybe it's habit. But I don't wait for their letters anymore. I don't need them to write my ending. I already did that myself. On my own terms. With quiet mornings, full lungs, and people who never once asked me to shrink so they could feel big. That's the story now. And it's finally mine.